Hello and welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and this is my podcast where I talk about all of the things that I have been making. If you want to find me on Instagram, I'm a_little_crafting, and on Ravelry I am Ankiwoo. And it has been a very long time since I last recorded. So today is Monday the 5th of May and it is a bank holiday here in the UK. Where I record. So I live here with my husband and my cat. You might see Susie the cat on the podcast occasionally. And yeah, it's been a long time. So for regular viewers, I do apologise. We have had a busy start, or well, busy start to 2024. Started off with, in February when I last recorded, it was just about to be Unravel Festival, so I went to that, but then straight after that I had a week away with my craft group, which was lovely and relaxing, but it was a week away without the usual schedule. Then a week after that, I went skiing in Austria with my husband, which did allow me some knitting time, but again that was 2 weekends of not being able to record. And then April just went by so quickly. We had friends staying for a while, which also took up some time, especially kind of getting prepared to have people staying over. And yeah, that's all the excuses really, but I'm back. I hope you didn't miss me too much. I have not had a huge amount of time to do some knitting, so I also probably wouldn't have had that much content to show you before. So I thought this is the time. I've got some spare time now, and we're not going on holiday again until August. So at this point I think I can start getting back into the groove of recording more regularly, at least once a month I think I want to go for. But yeah, the crafting really hasn't been happening too much either, just because work's been busy, we've been busy. I'm not sure why we've been especially busy, but as people who follow the podcast will know, I do play D&D quite a bit. We have 3 campaigns running at the moment and we try and get games in weekly, and I'm also a DM for one of them, so that's about to change, which means that I won't be so busy with that, which will kind of help my schedule as well. So I'm hoping to get some more crafting done and record more podcasts. That is my aim now. So without further ado, I'll get started with the actual content here. So I'll start off with what I am wearing, and this is just a Sophie shawl by Petite knit, which is a pattern that I've come to really love. It's quite a simple one, so you start at one end, you increase up to the halfway point and then you decrease down to the other end, and it creates a kind of shallow triangle, but it's one of those shawls that I actually just use as a scarf quite a lot, and it's really easy to throw on and just wear. I haven't worn this one very much since I finished it because I have a pink one that I knit last year and I absolutely love the colour of that one. I wear it all the time. It does need debobbling very desperately right now, so I figure I'll switch over to the blue one. The colour is absolutely lovely on this one. I actually dyed this myself on an organic merino DK base that I got from, I think they're Woods & Co, but it's yarnundyed.net. So if you're in the UK and you're after undyed yarn, whether to knit with or to dye, yarnundyed.net is a great way of getting good, affordable, undyed yarn for whatever your needs are. And this organic merino is lovely. I like the fact that you don't get such a vibrant colour, but it feels really just soft and natural at the same time. So I will be switching over to wearing this one instead of my pink shawl now. In the UK, I feel like it should be spring weather and it should be quite warm. We've had some sunshine the last couple of days, But now it's back to feeling like winter and it's tipping it down with rain, so the lighting in here is very fake. I do, yeah, no natural light today, unfortunately, but it's showing off the colours quite nicely at the moment. You probably want to know what I have finished since I last recorded. So I had a task of finishing the Friday Slipover by Petite knit by my mum's birthday, which was the 23rd of March, and I took that project to Austria with me when we were skiing, and every evening I was knitting away. I knit on the plane as well, and I finished it bang on time on the 23rd. We were flying back, and I got my mum to try it on and then wove in all the ends for her. So I was very, very pleased with that project. It's one of those projects that you're suddenly finished. So you kind of, it's top down. It's knit with this lovely broken rib pattern. And then at the end you go back and you pick up the neckline and you pick up just the really tiny sleeves, because it's a slip over, so it's kind of sleeveless really. And yeah, I really enjoyed knitting it. It felt like I had enough time pressure on me, but not too much to still enjoy the knit. And once I got past this kind of top section and into the body, it was just basic in the round, not stockinette, which made it a bit more interesting because it was that broken rib, and I absolutely love the look of broken rib. And it fits my mum really well, so I'm really pleased with it. I will pop a picture of it here. I was going to ask my mum to take a picture of her wearing it, but I think she's a bit shy about having that on the internet, so I will, yeah, just show it to you finished but not on anyone. And yeah, I am desperate to knit myself one. I also bought myself the V-neck version some time ago, before I even planned to do this project for my mum, and I've got a couple of colourways already prepared for that, so I will be planning that in the near future. I knit this particular slipover in filcolana pernilla, which is listed as a DK weight, which is why I chose it. But I do think it's a bit lighter, it's more on the sport side. However, it did work up really, really well. Highly recommend that yarn. It is quite nice and affordable as a proper, you know, wool and nylon yarn. I think it's wool and nylon. But it's very soft and it drapes very nicely once you've finished your project and blocked it. So yeah, highly recommend filcolana. I've knit with the fingering weight version Arwetta before, and that worked up really well as well. So I definitely want to try some more of filcolana's yarns and get a good idea of what the rest of the range is like. Let's get on to works in progress then. So there's one work in progress that I would say is 99% done, and that is my Snefald shawl by Fibre Tales, who is Lurga. And I do recommend you go and watch Fibre Tales on YouTube. She has a really great podcast. I love her aesthetic in general. So this is my shawl. It is knit in the round. And again, I really thoroughly enjoyed this knit. The colour work in the round is wonderful. I love the look of it, and yeah, I'm really happy with how the knitting has turned out. So this is knit in the round, which means that I now have to steek it. I have washed and blocked it. I haven't woven in any ends yet. I was hoping to do that after I've steeked it. But in general, I'm just happy with how it's turned out. For the steeking, I'm going to reinforce with sewing. So I need to get my sewing machine out and do it. But I've also got some other sewing ideas on the back burner at the moment, so I'm going to wait until I'm ready to go ahead with those, and then I don't have to get my sewing machine out to do something for 5 minutes and then put it away again. So especially because it's going to be warmer in the UK soon, I really hope, I expect to only be wearing this in probably autumn at this point. So there's no rush for me to steek it. I do want to get it done soon though, so I'll hopefully be doing a bit more sewing in the near future. But absolutely love it. This is knit out of a discontinued version of Knit by Numbers DK by John Arbon. I don't have all the colourways on me right now, but I will list them in the description below, and if you want to look at any information that I've talked about in the podcast, that will all be in the description. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this. I did run out of the green, which is in the centre section, so I had to try and get myself some more. But yeah, loving the look of it, loving the way it worked up and the ease of doing colour work in the round for a flat shawl. And I will see how I get on with my first actual proper steeking adventure soon. So I'll report back on that when I've done it, of course. And the steek will actually be, just having a little look, so it's the centre section, so it'll be this side here. Let's see if I can show you close up. So I'll be cutting down the centre there. So yeah, overall a lovely project, and I hope I don't mess it up by cutting it, but fingers crossed. I'm going to follow the directions very, very carefully and make sure I don't destroy the lovely colourwork that I've knit. But yeah, it does remind me how much I love colourwork knitting, in particular stranded colourwork knitting. So I just love the effect of the zigzags, the really simple lice pattern, and then these little droplets that have little bobbles on the top. And then just the way that the edging looks is just so lovely. Just the contrast within that colourwork makes it, I think. So yeah, happy with that so far. It did keep me going for a while, and I would definitely knit one of these again, maybe not the same design, in some different colours. Yeah, and it's just been really interesting to, I guess, go through this journey of knitting a shawl in a completely different way, because it feels more like you're knitting a cowl as it's in the round. And I don't have a colourwork shawl because it is typically quite difficult to knit flat in colourwork because you have to purl. And I've done that before and it was slow. Let's just say that. So big fan of testing out steeking. I didn't want to try it with a full-on sweater first, so I thought shawl was a great idea. And I know that Lega has some other patterns that are the same kind of construction as this that I will be willing to try. I think one of them is in one of the liner magazines, or no, I think it might be in the 52 Weeks of Shawls book. So I may well cast that on at some point if this turns out to be a success, but I'm looking forward to having this available for autumn for me to wear. I also pulled out an advent calendar a couple of weeks ago. I was reorganising this room because my friends needed to sleep in it, and found my 2019 advent calendar from Nora George Yarns. So that was an advent calendar, 24 days of yarn. I think they were 10-gram minis, so there's sort of less than you typically get in an advent. And I dug it out and I thought, why have I not done anything with this yet? And decided to look at some blanket patterns that are kind of suitable for advents in general. And some time ago I had bought the Northeasterly pattern. That's one by Skeinanigans, and that looks really lovely, although what I have decided to do is actually knit it with some undyed yarn in between the mini skein sections, so the very kind of variegated parts, just to kind of break it up a bit and again give it that sort of contrast and make it quite it's tidy is what I'm thinking is the word, but maybe that doesn't describe it in the best way. And I got started on this because if you remember some time ago I knit a scarf in a DK weight advent, and it's a very, very similar construction. So the Northeasterly blanket contains all of these little kind of chevron arrows, and what you do is you knit an initial sort of vertical, so that's what I'm doing here, and then you pick up and you knit this section in the next column, and then you carry on. And I'm aiming for this, I think, to be a, so how many have I got here? I have 4. Well, I'm halfway through the 4th. That will be, I think I want to do a 6 by 5 or something along those lines. I was considering 8 by 4, so 8 of these by 4, but then I think it will just be too long. So I'm sort of going to figure that out. I think I'll go for 6 of these in a column, and then I'll keep going sideways as much as I can. So yeah, so I want to start with, so this one I've started with an advent mini. That's what it looks like. This one was quite tight. I think I was getting used to knitting again with tiny needles. And then, so I'm going to alternate, so advent mini undyed, advent mini undyed, and this one's sort of orange and yellow. And then I'm going to end with an undyed, and then the next row I'm going to start with an undyed, so the one to the side of this will be an undyed at the start, and then alternate up so that I've got this kind of crisscross pattern, I guess, where I've got one undyed next to an advent. That's my plan, and I have been quite addicted to this. I didn't start it that long ago. I think I started it a week ago, and I've already done 3.5 sections. So I'm really looking forward to getting some steam on this and keeping going. It's quite a mindless project, although I do have to pay attention to the increases and decreases a bit. So it's definitely good TV knitting. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting through that advent calendar and actually making use of it with an actual project. So I'm hoping that I have quite a decent sized blanket at the end of this, and I don't expect it to take me too long considering how much I've been able to do this week. But I do want to make sure that I'm not just knitting on this and I'm knitting on some other projects. So I'm going to try and do sort of maybe 2 chevrons a week, something like that, rather than 4. That's going to be my plan. Yeah, and I am knitting it on very small needles, so it is on 2.5mm needles, and this is sock yarn, so that kind of makes sense, but I haven't been used to using these for some time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to carrying on with it, to be honest. What's interesting is I was trying to think about how to lay out the colours because they are sort of all over the place. So I went with kind of reds and oranges for this one so far. The ones that I've wound up otherwise are, they are falling apart a bit because the skein winder isn't the best at doing minis, but There we go. It's this little pink mottled one, which I think I'll definitely need to be in this column as well. So that'll be one of my 6. And then the other one I've got, which will be probably the second one on the next row, is this green colour. Yeah, so I thought the natural white would be quite nice in breaking up the colours and not having some wild colours next to each other. And I saw a few other people have done something similar as well with this pattern. But yeah, so far thoroughly enjoying it. This is again undyed yarn from yarnundyed.net, and this one is 7525 superwash merino, so I figured that would be the same base. The advent calendar itself was from Nora George Yarns. She actually closed down her yarn dyeing business a couple of years ago now, I think. I saw on Instagram that she'd started dyeing yarn again, but I don't think she's necessarily selling it. So worth keeping an eye out if she does come back. I do love her. Again, the kind of subtleties of the colours. She often dyes on like mostly white, but adds colour to a white base rather than, so more speckles and things, rather than like really bold colours, for example, like the ones I've dyed here where there is no white left in the skein. So I quite like that effect, and I think it will be really lovely for the blanket as well. So yeah, I'll keep letting you know how I get on with that. I'm not actively working on anything else right now in terms of knitting. In fact, I'm not actively working on anything else right now at all. So like I said, it's been a busy few months, and yeah, I haven't really had the time to just relax and do some knitting or plan some projects. But I did have some time a couple of days ago whilst my husband was out to think about what I want to knit next. And a couple of my friends are going to be having babies this year, so I was looking at some patterns that I could knit for them. And the first one I am planning to knit is the Sogenfri jacket by Guri Pendersen. And now I saw another podcaster have knit this. I can't remember who it was, but if I do remember, I'll pop it in the description below. And it just looks adorable, and from other people who I've spoken to, it feels like those kind of little knitted cardigans are really helpful because you can just chuck them over like a sleep suit or something for a baby and keep them warm in winter. So I'm going to knit that. I haven't done a swatch or anything yet, but I have picked out the yarn I'm going to use, and that is going to be this really gorgeous coloured Merino Yak, and this is by Regia or Shawl, depending on what you call them. It's Merino Yak 4-ply. The pattern itself is designed for DK weight yarn, but I've seen that one other person has knit this out of this yarn, so I'm hoping it will work out. I'll just be swatching, and what I might end up doing is knitting a bigger size if I find the fabric that I want and it's not to gauge. So yeah, I'm going to give it a go. It's a little more subtle than this colour is coming out. So I think it will be a really nice little jacket. This is a lot more burgundy pink than the red that's coming out on the camera. But yeah, let me pop a picture here. I just think it looks like a really lovely texture, and like I said, it should be quite practical in terms of just putting it on over a small baby. Yeah, so that's my plan next. I'll show the progress on that next time I record. And yeah, hopefully it works out with this fingering weight yarn. But I thought this colour was great, and I really wanted to knit it in this rather than anything else. I also think it's quite hard if you're knitting for other people who are having babies, to, like, I probably wouldn't use something like Durare Natura Elise, which also has been used to knit this project, just because I trust myself with that yarn, but it would feel, I guess they'd probably feel really bad if they popped it in the wash and it shrunk or felted really quickly. So I do find it's a good idea to get something superwash like sock yarn, or maybe acrylic sometimes as well for other people. Yeah, so that is going to be what this skein grows up to be. And this one is, in terms of its consistency, 58% wool, 28% polyamide and 14% yak, but it is very nice and soft. 100 grams is 400 meters, as you'd expect for a fingering weight yarn. And yeah, and it's machine washable at 30. So I think that will be super practical for a baby as well. So yeah, that is what I am planning there. I'm going to talk a little bit about spinning, but I just need to grab my Handspun from over there. So similar theme, I have not done much spinning either recently, but I did do some whilst I was away with my craft group, and I finished something off, which I'll talk about in a second. So the first thing I spun up is this really lovely superwash merino yarn, and this is by Tall Hedge Fibres on Etsy. And this particular colourway is absolutely gorgeous. It is called Belle Époque, and what I've done is I've done a 2-ply and just basically spun from one end to the other, or split it in half vertically and then spun it and applied it together. If I undo it, you might be able to see a bit more of the colours. So yeah, so it's got these really lovely, it's very me actually, it's pink and green and burgundy, and a bit of white and a bit of kind of corally colour. So I absolutely love this yarn. It's really soft, as you'd expect with superwash merino. I did find it a little bit weird to spin. I think that's the superwash element. I don't know whether it's normal to have the superwash treatment applied before the yarn is spun. But yeah, it was interesting anyway. Not my favourite fibre to spin for sure, although I do generally like spinning merino. So again, I think it is just that superwash element, but it has turned out really nicely. I love the barber poling in some of this. It's just gorgeous. So I'm really excited to knit with this one, and I already have a project planned, but I will talk about that in my acquisition section. And yeah, it didn't take me too long, but then I was just spinning for about a day, so well, it wouldn't have taken a full day, I don't think, maybe a few hours. And yeah, I had a nice time making it, and I will be having a nice time knitting with it. So yeah, that's one project, or one spinning project that I have completed, and now to knit with it. My second spinning project did not go so well. So I hand dyed three different types of fibre in the same way, with effectively kind of a gradient, but with several different colours blending together. 3 different braids. One was merino, one is Kent Romney, which is the one I'm about to show you, and one is Massam. And the colours are gorgeous. I'm so happy with how the colours turned out. I did start spinning this at Craft Week. I did one bobbin, so I did one singles, half of the fibre, and then a couple of weeks ago I picked it up again and went, I should probably finish this spin, spun another bobbin and then plied them together. But I don't know which one, and I don't know how I did this. I massively overspun one of those, at least one of those, maybe both, I'm not sure. So let me show you, see if I could show you close up. Like I said, the colours are gorgeous. I'm really happy with how the colours turned out, but this is like really bouncy. It's not plied well at all, as in like it's pretty awful. It feels pretty wiry as well, and this is not what I wanted. I wanted quite a smooth yarn, you know, which is what I typically have been able to achieve. So I don't know if it's the Kent Romney. I might try and sample some another time and see how it turns out. Yeah, I'm disappointed, but I also do think that the texture's quite interesting here. So I wonder what will happen if I weave with it. We'll have to see. But yeah, there's sections here you can really tell it's just like, it's just not, it's not yarn, it's, I don't know, well it is yarn, but it's curly and it's all over the place. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It hasn't happened before, so I'm a bit sad because I was hoping to have something really beautiful out of this. But I'll still be able to use it, hopefully. It's just more, my experiment won't work very well if the middle depth skein isn't the same as the others. So I'm hoping the same thing doesn't happen with the other ones. I haven't, like I said, I haven't done much spinning at all, considering how often I was spinning before. It's quite unusual for me, but I'll have to pick up some spinning soon and maybe do some testing. Maybe there was something about my stress levels, or maybe it was just that I was struggling to actually spin the yarn consistently, but it really didn't look like it from the singles. The singles look pretty good. Maybe it was the gap between. I haven't typically left a big gap between spinning one set of singles and the other before. So yeah, very weird. Let you know, comment in the description below if this has happened to you before, or if you know what the problem is. I'd love to know. But I am guessing it is because one of the singles is really overspun and the other one isn't. So yeah, you get all these curly cues all the way through. It was just horrible to ply as well. Just completely, probably the worst plying experience I've had, which is very sad, but I'll make use of it. It kind of looks like messy boucle, I guess. Sort of more art yarn like, but it does not feel soft at all, and I think the massent was not exactly rough as a fibre. So yeah, bouncy, crazy, all over the place. Messed up spin there. Yeah, that's my story about my hand-dyed spin. I'm hoping this is not just me and I've not just lost it in terms of my spinning, because I was really enjoying it and doing it, and I felt like I was getting some really good yarn out before. But I guess this might happen to everyone sometimes, where something goes wrong and it just doesn't work out. So I won't beat myself up too much about it. But yeah, the colours in this are gorgeous. I'm so happy with how the colours turned out. Can you see that? Just not the yarn, sadly. Yeah, I think I don't think I would knit with it 100%. I just think it would be a really horrible experience, which is why I'm thinking weaving might work. You know, even if I weave this and it's just back and forth and easy weaving and making it into a bag or something, it might be quite cool. But yeah, definitely not knitting with it because it has so much spring and bout. It's also just rigid at the same time as being quite springy. I don't know how that happens, but yeah, that one is really weird. Let me know what you think in the description below if you're a spinner and you've had this experience or seen this happen before. Right, last section. So as you know, I went to Unravel Festival at the end of February, which is in a town fairly close to me called Farnham in the southwest of England. Sorry, southeast of England. I went with a couple of friends and I was very happy when I first got in. Someone grabbed me and said that they watched the podcast, so hello. If you're watching right now, thank you so much. That's absolutely made my day that that you came over and said hello. I know I'm really bad because I've completely forgotten your name as it's been a few months anyway, but I hope you managed to find an affordable spinning wheel to get back into spinning, because I know you were talking about doing that. So thanks so much for coming and saying hello. But let me get into what I bought at Unravel, which is almost going to be a bit of a surprise to me because I haven't actually got anything out of this bag since I came home. But I got the tote bag because I thought it was really cool, and I needed something to carry my stuff around in because somehow I've ended up with no tote bags in the house that are actually usable. I keep lending people things in them and they don't come back. So this is a Farnham Maltings Unravel bag, and it's a little like ramen bowl with knitted things, pretty much knitted food, and you can see the chopsticks are in fact knitting needles. So let's get started. So I did buy a bit of fibre. I bought a bat. I cannot remember for the life of me who I bought this from, but I think it was one of the stalls that generally sells quite a lot of weaving and spinning equipment. I'll stick it in the description below if I can find it. But I thought I'd get this lovely kind of grey, blue, pink toned bat because I did enjoy spinning the bat that I bought 2 years, or well, it would have been 2 unravels ago. And I thought the colours were really pretty in this. So I will enjoy spinning that up. Yeah, it looks, I don't know what fibre it is. It doesn't have a label on it or anything. But yeah, the turquoises and the blues and the pinks at the end are really beautiful. I think that must be silk, and maybe merino. Yeah, if you have a look inside. So yeah, I thought that was very me and got that. So I would like to spin that up soon. I'm going to test myself, just make sure my spinning hasn't just gone AWOL before I do anything with that. The other thing I wanted to do, because I haven't been doing much weaving recently, and I think that's a bit of a shame, but I have a book called The Weaver's Workbook, and it's got all sorts of different types of weaving designs in there, but I thought it would help to have a little sample loom. So this is from Tabby and Tweed, and this is a little sampling loom. You just use all the little holes to kind of produce your pattern, a little bit like a frame loom. And this one, yeah, it's £25 I think. So yeah, so I'm hoping I can make use of that just to test out some different patterns, because when I weave I tend to do plain weave because I want to bring out the colours of the yarn rather than focus on a pattern. But I do want to kind of experiment a little bit more with some patterning as well. Yeah, and you can compare different kind of sets, so the DPI, different DPIs, before you go ahead and actually warp a full loom with the project. Yeah, so that's kind of a bit of a useful tool that I bought. Then, if again you've been watching for a while, you know that I started knitting a grow hat in the Grey Sheep Co. Hampshire DK, and I ran out of yarn really close to the end, because these are 50 gram skeins, not 100 grams, and I didn't realise when I started it. So I replaced my yarn, so I got another 50 gram skein of the Grey Sheep Co. Hampshire DK in oatmeal. Apparently they were slightly changing the way that they either dyed or spun these, so I'm really glad I got some before they did that, or before they had the stock out and available to buy. And I still have not spun this up to finish about an inch of my hat, so sorry, wound this up before knitting the last inch of my hat, so I need to do that soon, because I know I will have some left over. I thought I would get a contrast colour, which is going to be this lovely limey green, or I think it's called acid green. I don't have a label on it, but it's the same. It's Hampshire DK, which is 100%, or sorry, 98% virgin wool and 2% alpaca, and I believe it's from their own sheep. I have been to visit the Grey Sheep Co before and see the sheep. So that'll be really nice, I think. Some kind of colour work with those two will be lovely. So yeah, I will finish that grey hat soon, I promise. The other thing that I got was at the Les Garçons booth, and I spoke to Max for quite a long time. It was really nice to actually meet him. I've met Vincent before at Unravel a few times. Max, it was the first time I was able to speak to him, and I was talking to him about his bumpy shawl, because I've had that in my queue to knit out of some Handspun. So we were talking, I asked him how much of the new yarn that they've produced with Walcot yarns I needed to knit that. So this is the Fluff, and it is sport weight, 55% baby alpaca, 18% fine merino, 17% mulberry silk, 10% yak, and this colourway is a velvet. So this is what I got. It's 50 grams each skein, 200 meters in each, and he did say that that would be enough to knit the shawl. And I'm going to pair it with this. So this is going to be my main colour, and this is going to be for the bumps in the shawl, and I'll pop a picture here so that you can see how that will look. I think it'll be quite different to the way Max's sample turned out, just because there's a lot of variation in this, but I'm hoping it'll be really lovely with this main kind of really beautiful velvety purple colour offset with this. So excited to cast that on at some point. I don't know when. I was going to cast it on within a month of buying this yarn, and then I got carried away with other things, as you know, and I did have the project that I needed to finish for my mum, so I had to focus on that for a while. So this will be a little bit on the back burner for now, just because I have other things to focus on in the near future. And then finally, I just had one, I guess, selfish purchase, or one-off purchase, that I thought was going to be a really nice yarn to try out. And this is Silky Boucle, which is 70% silk and 30% merino. It is colourway Imlaria from Creative Anarchy yarn, and I just wanted to try it. It's really, really soft. It's 400 meters, so I think it's fingering weight. And just the colour variation again is just my kind of colours. I like burgundies, pinks, greens, a bit of copper in there, and I thought it was really beautiful and I wanted to try it. Again, not sure what I'm going to knit out of this. I think I did have an idea, but I've completely forgotten what it is, so I'll have to revisit that when I have some time to check. My friend also bought a skein of this in a different colour because I think she's going to knit a little clutch bag, which I thought was a cool idea as well. We actually saw them as a sample at one of the booths. The Petite knit clutch, I think that's the Teddy one, although I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, so I will be trying this out. I do have some DK boucle yarn that I'm supposed to be weaving with at some point that is just sitting in my stash, so yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this one yet, but I will probably be knitting with it. Yeah, it's interesting actually just to compare how the strands look versus the messed up yarn that I spun. Very cool. It's incredibly soft, obviously a lot of silk content, so I'm guessing despite the boucle effect it will be quite drapey. So let's see, just as a test, figure out what I'm going to knit with it. Lastly, since Unravel, I have ordered a couple of issues, or a couple of books slash issues of Liner magazine, and I got issue 19, which is this one, because I figured I should probably get it before it runs out everywhere, considering it seems to be out of stock at most places. I do collect the Liner magazine issues, and I have, I think, the whole collection. I don't think I'm missing any right now. I also got 20 as well, which is the one after this, but that arrived some time ago. And yeah, I like just having these on the shelf. I've got them all added to my Ravelry so that when I'm looking for a pattern to knit, I can also search through those. And they're just beautiful publications. So they typically have other articles, but they also contain a lot of patterns. They usually have recipes in them, so this one actually has winter essentials. The Hot Frenchman, which is a drink with red wine, Grand Marnier, and sugar, orange and lemon. And then it's got whipped berry porridge. And then Nordic nut knots, which look amazing, and I want one now. Like that. And the photography is beautiful. I love just actually reading through these when I have a bit of time. And the patterns are beautiful. So one of the reasons I wanted this particular issue is for the Nightfall by Maxim Cyr. That sweater is gorgeous. I want to get back on the colourwork train and knit some colourwork sweaters at some point this year. And yeah, I've seen other people knit it, and it's just the geometric shapes and everything are just beautiful. Hopefully you can see that from there. But it's probably got a few other patterns that I will knit as well. It's got a skirt, which I'm quite interested in. Some kind of very nice cabled cardigans. It's beautiful detail on the back, it's very me as well. Yeah, and generally I really like the aesthetic. I typically like a lot of the patterns, so enjoy collecting these. I still think, like, despite the fact that they are £20 each when you buy them, or 20 to £22, I still think they're worth it, because you get really 11 to 12 patterns in these books, plus all the articles, plus everything else. And it is more of a book than a magazine in my view, if you compare this to something like the Knitter magazine. So I don't mind spending that every so often to have the whole collection and be able to flick through it when I want some inspiration. The other thing I ordered is another line of magazine publication, 52 weeks of accessories. This is a bit of a no-brainer for me, because I'm a very prolific hat knitter, and there are a lot of hat patterns in here. I was flicking through them, and when I received this a couple of days ago, and I really was thinking, yeah, I would knit all of these hats. So I am particularly inspired by one that I will just try and find. It's Ina, her Ina hat. This detail looks really cool. I'm hoping you can see it, but it's got like petals and those sorts of things in a really lovely detail. That's a pattern by Elena Dimchevska. And there's all sorts of other patterns that I'm interested in knitting as well. So it goes through, it's got shawls and scarves, it's got mittens and gloves, it's got cowls, and then it's got some other kind of random accessories that don't fit in any of those boxes. Oh, socks and slippers as well, which I don't need so much because I do have two 52 weeks of socks books. Bags, bracelets, and even scrunchies. So yes, I think I'll definitely be making a lot of use out of this, and I'll add it to my Ravelry so that I can figure out yarn pairings for the projects themselves. But yeah, hats I find so easy to pick up and knit, so it'd be good to have a selection of new patterns that I can try out. That is everything I wanted to say this week. Thanks so much for sticking with me and coming back if you were one of my followers before and were wondering where I was. I will be back recording soon, I hope, to give you an update on the projects that I'm starting and the ones that I'm working on. And otherwise, have a lovely crafty few weeks, and I will see you again soon. Bye.